Good day and hello students. I will be your instructor for today's lesson. My name is Michael Joaquin REBENQUE and you can call me Sir REBENQUE.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thanks for answering. Before we start our lesson, may I ask how is everyone doing?
I'm doing fine, sir. Thank you for asking.
Thanks for answering again, Miss Salget. That's nice to hear. Let's now proceed to our lesson. Our lesson for today is about two comparatives together in grammar. And in two comparatives together, we have four ways or rules in order to identify the comparative phrases in a sentence. Let's move on to the next slide for the first rule. We have here comparatives showing cause and effect. What does it mean? The, in the way of making comparisons is with the use of two phrases that use comparative adjectives. In short, it uses two phrases which has comparative adjectives just like the example here. We have here the word harder and smarter. To better analyze the sentence, let's check its sentence structure. Okay, for the first word, we have here the, and as our introductory the, harder as our uh, comparative expression, I as our subject, study as our verb, the again as our introductory the, smarter as our comparative expression, our second, I as our subject again, and get as our second verb. Uh, may you read the sentence presented on the screen, Miss Salget?
Yes, sir. The harder I study, the smarter I get.
Okay, thanks for reading our example here. The harder I study, the smarter I get. As you can see, we have here two comparative phrases, rather, which is harder and smarter. And this rule shows cause and effect. As you analyze the sentence, if you read it carefully, the harder I study is our main clause which is the cause, and the second clause is the smarter I guess is the effect which show the result. Again, the harder I study, the smarter I get. You will see in the sentence that it really shows cause and effect because if you study harder, of course, you will get smarter. Is everything clear on your end, student?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let's proceed on our next slide. May you read the slide presented on screen, please, Miss Salget?
Yes po, sir. The louder the neighbor noise, the angrier the people gets.
Okay, thanks for reading our example here. The louder the neighbor noise, the angrier the people gets. Uh, Ms. Serget, will you identify for us the two comparative phrases uses in the sentence?
Yes, sir. I think the two comparative phrases that are used in this sentences are the first one is the louder, and the second one is the angrier.
Okay, that's correct. And thanks for answering. Okay, as you can see, we have here again two comparative phrases which shows cause and effect. The cause in the sentence is, of course, the louder the neighbor noise, and its effect is the angrier the people gets. And as you can see, it really shows that result, which is angrier. Of course, if you read the sentence again, the louder the neighbor noise, the angrier the people gets. I think we all know that already. Okay, is that clear for you on your end, students?
Yes, sir. It's clear po.
Okay, now let's proceed on our next slide. one syllable adjectives. May you please read its meaning, Miss Selget?
One syllable adjectives. To form the comparative, we add er to the end of the adjective.
Thank you for reading the meaning of our one syllable adjectives. As Miss Selget said, to form a comparative, we added er on the end of the adjective, and we have here table of examples of adjectives and its comparative. For the first column, we have here adjectives small, cold, light, wide, and hot. And their comparative form will be smaller, colder, lighter, wider, and hotter. Is that clear to you, students?
Yes po.
Okay, now let's proceed on our next slide. Two-syllable adjectives ending in Y. Again, may you read please the meaning of two-syllable adjectives ending in Y, Miss Salget?
Yes, sir. Two syllables, adjectives ending in y. To form the comparative, we remove the y and add ier to the end of the adjective.
Okay, thanks for reading our explanation. As you can see, unlike the first syllable adjectives, the two-syllable adjectives ending in Y is uh, when we forming comparative is we need to remove the Y on the adjective and replace it by or add it by IER, which as you can see on our example here on the table, we have on the first column we have adjectives crazy, happy, and early, and their comparative form which is crazier, happier, and earlier. As you can see, the letter Y on the end of each adjective was placed by IER to make it a comparative phrase or form. Is that clear on your end, students?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let's now proceed on our next slide. We have here our second rule or way in identifying the comparative phrases in a sentence. And the second rule is called shortening comparative phrases. What does it mean? It means the way of making comparisons is the win, making comparison is with the use of double comparatives the context makes the meaning obvious to the listener. To better analyze the sentence presented in here, let's check first its sentence structure. As you can see on the presented on the screen, we have here the as our the introductory the, stronger as our first comparative expression, the coffee as our subject, is as our verb, the again as our introductory the, better as our second comparative expression, it as our second subject, and taste as our second verb. May you read the conversation uh, presented on the screen, Ms. Selget?
Yes, sir. How do you like your coffee? The stronger, the better. And for the sentence, the stronger the coffee is, the better it tastes.
Thanks for reading our example and answering the com- the long comparative form of our short comparative phrase. As you can see, in order to make the sentence a short comparative ones, we need to remove some words from the original sentence. Let, let's check the example here. The stronger the coffee is, the better it tastes. As you can see, the words the coffee is being left out and the word it tastes is left out as well to make it the phrase the stronger the better. But when you when you when you discuss it with others, they will know what the stronger and the better means. Of course, we're talking about here coffee. Of course, the stronger it means the coffee, and the better it means is the taste of the coffee. Is that clear on your end, student?
Yes po.
Okay, now let's proceed on our next slide. Okay, Ms. Selgit, may you read the sentences presented on the screen?
Yes, sir. The less the better. The less the people, the better the event will be.
Okay, thank you for reading our example here. Okay, allow me to read it again. How many people you want to come? Ms. Selgit said, the less, the better. Uh, in short comparative form and in long comparative form, the sentence will be the less the people, the better the event will be. As you can see, when someone asks you how many people you want to come and you answer it the less the better, they will know already what you mean about those words. It means that you want people less and to make your event better, right? I guess that's kind of uh, explanatory already. Is that clear on your end, student?
Yes, sir. It is clear po.
Okay, now let's proceed on our next slide. We have here irregular forms. Unlike our first syllable and second syllable adjectives, we have here the irregular forms. Examples here are adjectives good, bad, fair, little, many, much, and old. And their comparatives form is better, worse, further or farther, less, more, and older or elder. As you can see, unlike our first discussion about one syllable and two syllable adjectives, we have here irregular forms that shows uh, no significance between the first two ones because the word our adjective here, the word good, is formed by its comparative form better, which is really different from the word good. And the second word bad is not badder, unlike with the first syllable rule. This is and these words are called irregular forms because they you don't need to add er or change y to ier in order to make it a comparative one. Is that clear on your end, student?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let's proceed on our next slide. Okay, our third rule for today's lesson is comparatives showing change. What does it mean? It means that it is a way of comparative can be repeated to show something is changing. This expression emphasizes the change and is often used to describe extremes. Uh, to better analyze the meaning of comparative showing change, let's check its sentence structure. Okay, we have here the as our introductory, the weather as our subject, is getting as our verb, and hotter as our comparative expression. May you read the example presented on the screen, Miss Salget?
Yes po, sir. The weather is getting hotter and hotter.
Okay, thanks for reading our example. As you can see, by the As you can see by the sentence read by Miss Salget, we'll notice that the word hatter is repeated, and and it is combined by the word and, because you can follow the comparative phrase hatter by hatter again. You need to include and in order to make it a grammatically correct. And as you can see on the sentence, it shows change. Again, allow me to read it again. The weather is getting hotter and hotter. It means that the weather in that particular place is getting hotter and hotter. It shows change. Like at first, the weather is just hot, but tomorrow it can get hotter and hotter as the day pass by. And that's our comparative comparative phrase sentence that show change. Is that clear on your end, student?
Yes po, Sir Rebenque.
Okay, now let's put it on our next slide. Okay. Miss Selget, may you read the sentences, please?
The COVID-19 cases is reducing lower and lower. There are more and more people coming to this vacation spot.
Thanks for reading our example presented on screen, Miss Selget. As you can see, our topic here is comparatives that show change. Okay? As you can see on the first sentence, the COVID-19 cases is reducing lower and lower. It means that uh, the, the cases of COVID-19 is decreasingly lower and lower, the number of people getting COVID. As you can see, it shows change right there. And on the second sentence, we have here, there are more and more people coming to this vacation spot. Again, as you can see, we have here expression that shows change, because in this sentence, uh, it shows that that vacation spot is getting more and more popular to people, that they will come it every vacation. Okay, now let's proceed on our next slide. Okay, our fourth and last rule or way of identifying comparative phrases in a sentence is what we call long comparatives showing change. Uh, what does it mean? It means that in two comparatives that go with long adjectives, more is repeated but the adjective is not. To better analyze the meaning, let's check its sentence structure. We have here buildings as our subject, are getting as our verb, more and more as our comparative expression, and gigantic as our adjective. Ms. Selget, may you read this the sentence presented on the screen?
Yes, sir. Buildings are getting more and more gigantic.
Thanks for reading our sentence here. Again, buildings are getting more and more gigantic. As you can see, we have here again a repetition of words, which is more and more, that emphasizes our adjective, which is gigantic. Is that clear on your end, student?
Yes po, sir.
Now let's proceed to the next slide. We have here two examples again. Allow me to read it. My school has become more and more tiresome. Yeah. The second one is the activities are getting more and more difficult. Miss Selget, please, will you identify for us uh, the adjective used in this sentence?
Yes, sir. I think the adjective in the first sentence is the word tiresome, and for the second one, I think the adjective that is used is difficult.
Yes, that is correct. As you can see, just like our explanation for this long comparative showing change is that our comparative expression, which is more, is followed by our adjective in order to identify that this sentence is a long comparative showing change. Again, my school has become more and more tiresome. The sentence shows change, which is that the school become more and more tiring to students or teachers. It shows change. And the second one, the activities are getting more and more difficult. It shows change as well by looking the sentence are getting more and more, which means that the activities is somehow harder than it is before. Okay, is that clear on your end, students?
Yes, sir, everything's clear.
Okay, let's proceed on our next slide. Okay, let's have our exercises. Before we end our discussion for this day, let's have a short activities regarding the lesson. Okay, what we're going to do here is that I am going to ask what rule or method is the sentence, and you student will answer what in the four choices is that sentence. Okay, first question, which of the following statement that shows cause and effect? May you answer that question, Miss Elget?
Yes, sir, my answer is that the more difficult the task is, the sweeter it is to succeed, sir.
Thanks for answering, and that is correct. Uh, the more difficult the task is, the sweeter it is to succeed. It shows cause and effect, which is the cause phrase in the sentence is the more difficult the task, while the effect or the result on the sentence is the phrase the sweeter it is to succeed. Okay, on our second question, which of the following statement that shows short comparative sentence? May you answer that question, Miss Selget?
Yes, sir, my answer for the short comparative sentence is study more, learn more.
Okay, thanks for answering, and that is correct. As I said, we're going to identify on the second question is the short comparative sentence. And the most shortest sentence here is the phrase study more, learn more rather. And on our third question, which of the following statement that shows change? Again, Miss Elget, will you please answer that question?
Yes, sir. My answer is the internet speed nowadays is getting faster and faster.
Thanks for answering, and again, that is correct as well. The internet speed nowadays is getting faster and faster. As you can see, we have here uh, words that shows change, which is faster and faster. When you read again the sentence, the internet speed nowadays is getting faster and faster means that the internet speed before is just fast or slow, and with and today it's getting better, which is faster and getting faster. Okay, on our last question, which of the following statement that shows long comparative sentence? Miss Selget, will you please answer that question?
Absolutely, sir. My answer is education, education rather, in this situation has become more and more challenging.
Thanks for answering, and that is correct as well. We may You are very attentive today, Miss Salget. Again, education in this situation has become more and more challenging. This statement shows long comparative phrase because of the word challenging, which is the adjective of this sentence. More and more is followed by challenging, which make it a long comparative one, and the sentence shows changes as well. As you can see, education in this situation has become more and more challenging. It means that education nowadays has become more challenging. Students especially to teachers because of our situation. And that's end of our discussion this day. Thank you for attending this class, students. Have a nice day ahead.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day po.